Hi guys, Honor Weber here, and today we're going to be starting the next book in our 17 spooky stories, counting down to Halloween. We are going to be reading Nancy Drew number 72, Nancy Drew Mystery Stories by Carolyn Keene, The Haunted Carousel. Let's just get right into it. Chapter 1, Mystery Challenge. Can we see the haunted carousel, Nancy? Of course. That's where we're going now, Bess. That's where we're going now, Billy. Nancy Drew assured the excited little boy. Nancy and her two best friends, Bess Marvin and George Fane, were taking the three small Custer children, relatives of Bess and George, through the amusement park area of the green wooded Riverside Park.
Why is the merry-go-round haunted?
Asked Billy's 7-year-old sister, wide-eyed. Well, that's a bit of a mystery, Janet.
And maybe you're just the person to solve it, Miss Drew.
And maybe you're just the person to solve it, Miss Drew, called out a voice on Nancy's right. A tighten-haired teenager turned and saw a rangy young man in a summer sports jacket striding towards her. Nancy recognized him as Rick Jason, a reporter for the River Heights News. Is that an invitation? She smiled. Call it a challenge, Jason's shot back. Several times recently, in the middle of the night when the park was closed, the carousel had suddenly lit up and begun playing music and turned around. Each time when people came running to investigate, the carousel would stop and go dark again. The spooky incidents had attracted wide interest, and many wild guesses were being made about the case. When I take on a mystery case, Nancy told the reporter, it's usually to help someone. I don't believe I ever tackled a mystery on a dare before. Her blue eyes twinkled. Can you give me one good reason why I should accept your challenge? I'll give you two. First, you're the most successful sleuth in or around River Heights, maybe in this part of the country. Nancy blushed. Flattery will get you nowhere, Mr. Jason. Don't be so modest, man. Don't be so modest, Nan. He's right, spoke up George Fane, a slim girl with short, dark hair. The praise was well earned. Daughter of Carson Drew, a prominent River Heights attorney, Nancy had displayed an unusual knack for solving mysteries. Her father frequently made use of her talent in connection with his own law cases, and her feats of detection had often been reported on television and in the newspapers. Second, Rick Jason went on, I'll see if I can get the news to put up a reward. You name it, and I'll try to talk the managing editor and publisher into going along. The story should be worth it, especially if you can come up with a solution. Nancy reflected. Then how about offering every boy and girl in River Heights a bus trip to the park and an afternoon of free fun rides? You're on, said Rick. Nancy's dimpled and they shook hands. Then the reporter whipped out a camera and snapped several pictures of the pretty young sleuth. Oh, how exciting!
Oh, how exciting!
Gushed plump, blonde Bess Marvin as the girls and their three little charges walked on. Rick Jason had hurried off to file his story. You'll have everyone in town breathless following the progress of your investigation. That's what I'm afraid of, Nancy quipped wryly. She paused a moment later, glancing off to one side with a look of concern. Isn't that the Swiss couple we met at the cotton candy stand? Yes, it's the Trumplets, said George. I wonder what's wrong. The three girls had gotten into conversation with the young couple while waiting to be served. They learned that Conrad and Judy Trumplet had arrived in New York only 2 days before to begin an early planned tour of the USA, River Heights, and Riverside Park. Were their first stop outside the huge skyscraper metropolis. But some had evidently gone wrong. Trudy was weeping while her husband tried to comfort her. Nancy went up to them. Can we help? She asked sympathetically. I doubt it, but thank you anyhow, said Conrad Trample. I'm afraid only a policeman can help us. Are you in trouble? Yes. I have just discovered my wallet has been stolen. You mean here in the park? So it seems. I had it only a little while ago, when we were talking at the cotton candy stand. But now it is gone. Snatched by some pickpocket, no doubt. Conrad replied ruefully that the wallet contained all the money they possessed, partly in American dollars and partly in Swiss francs, which meant that they would have to cut their vacation and return to Switzerland. Bess and George were shocked and embarrassed that the two foreign visitors, especially two as nice as Trudy and Conrad Trumbull, should have been victims of such a heartless crime while visiting River Heights. While her friends sympathized with the unhappy couple, Nancy, who knew a good deal about the ways of criminals, decided to offer her own help as a detective. Did anyone bump you recently? She asked Conrad. The young Swiss looked surprised at her question. Why, yes, a man bumped into me just as we stopped to get a drink at the water fountain. Can you remember what he looked like? Of course. He was the heaviest set man, going bald, I believe, and he had on a checked suit. But why do you ask? Because that's probably when you were robbed. Nancy told Conrad that pickpockets often worked in teams. When the burly man bumped him to distract his attention, another crook, a light-fingered dip skilled at picking pockets, had doubtless seized the chance to lift Conrad's wallet. The dip, Nancy went on, would have passed the wallet to the third crook, who would quickly strip it of its valuable contents and dump the empty wallet in the nearest trash bin. That way, she added, it's almost impossible to catch any member of the team with incriminating evidence on him, unless they're nabbed within moments of the crime. Conrad sighed. Then there is little hope for recovering our money, eh? There may be a chance in this case, Nancy said thoughtfully. Anyhow, let's not give up just yet. The first thing is to find where they threw your wallet. The young sleuth suggested that they check the trash baskets nearest the water fountain. 2 baskets were soon located in opposite directions from the fountain. 8-year-old Gary Cluster gave a triumphant whoop after peering into the second basket.
I found it!
He yelled and held up a brown wallet. Conrad confirmed that the wallet was his and thanked the little boy. Even though the wallet was now empty of money, at least I have my identification cards and driver's license back," he added gratefully. "This is just the first step," Nancy responded, gazing around. She saw a refreshment counter nearby and hurried toward it. "Did either of you see a person throw something into the trash basket just a few minutes ago?" she asked the 2 counter attendants. One shook his head. "Sorry, I didn't notice. I was too busy dishing out hot dogs." But the other told Nancy, "Yeah, matter of fact, I did see a guy throw something away there. I meant to go over and check, because it looked like a wallet." "It was a wallet," said Nancy. "Can you remember what the fellow looked like?" "Sure. He was about 19 or 20, with long dark hair, and he had on a red polo shirt." "Thanks," Nancy beamed. "You've helped a lot." The girl quickly mapped out a plan of action. She suggested that the group split up into 4 pairs and spread out through the amusement park, looking for the burly, balding man in the checked suit, or the young man in the red polo shirt. Bess, George, and Nancy herself would each take one of the clusters of children, while the Tromplets would stay together. "I'm sure there's a team of at least 3 pickpockets working together," Nancy added. "If we can find either of the 2 suspects, he may lead us to their partners in crime." Within 10 minutes, little Janet Cluster came running up to Nancy, who had Janet's younger brother Billy by the hand.
"George and I found one of the crooks,"
the little girls cried excitedly. "Which one?" asked Nancy.
"The bald-headed one."
Nancy quickly rounded up the Tromplets, Bess and Gary, and they all rejoined George Fane, who pointed out a thick-set figure in the checked suit. The man was waiting near the park shooting gallery. "You are right. That is the man who bumped me," Conrad declared in a low, intense voice. Even as he spoke, the balding crook was joined by another man, an elderly, skinny fellow with a wrinkled, pinched-looking face. "I'll bet he's the dip who picked your pocket," Nancy conjectured. "They're probably waiting for their partner in the red shirt to come and split the loot, since he's the one who actually took the money from your wallet." Since Nancy's group were partly screened by shrubbery, the 2 crooks did not yet realize that they were being watched. Nancy urged her companions to run and look for a policeman, while she herself kept the suspects under surveillance. Within minutes, her prediction was borne out as a tall, slender young man in a red polo shirt came walking toward the 2 older crooks. Nancy cast about frantically, hoping to glimpse a park policeman, but none was in sight. "If I don't do something fast," she fretted, "they'll get away." In desperation, Nancy decided that her best move would be to try to catch the young crook alone before he joined forces with his 2 partners. She might at least be able to recover the Tromplets' money, even though it meant giving up any chance of bringing the pickpockets to justice. Nancy hurried across the grass and confronted the young man in the red polo shirt, while he was still some distance from his 2 confederates. "Hand over that money you stole," she demanded boldly. His face seemed to come all apart in a look of stunned dismay. "What do you mean?" "You know very well what I mean. I'm talking about the money you stripped from that stolen wallet just before you tossed it in the trash basket." Seeing his expression of guilt and growing alarm, Nancy pressed on sternly. you can be identified as the thief because part of that money is in Swiss francs. If you surrender the loot now, I'll let you go. But you'd better hand it over fast, she stated, because if you don't, soon you'll find yourself behind bars. The young thief hesitated and gulped fearfully. But a moment later his expression hardened into a mocking grin. Glancing over her shoulder, Nancy at once saw why. The burly, balding crook and his skinny cohort were hurrying toward them with angry scowls and doubled-up fists. "Beat it, lady!" the bigger one bellowed.